At the same time, they have an uplifting quality as they celebrate the triumph of the human spirit. He was born on July 7, 1937, and was christened Luis Claudio Veloso Olmedo. His nickname was Onib, the reverse of Bino, derived from Bambino, after the legendary American baseball icon in the 30s, Babe Ruth, whom his father greatly admired. Onib grew up in what was then a quiet suburb of Manila during pre-war years, Sampaloc, which is now a bustling residential and commercial district. He was the fifth in a family of 10 siblings: Lito, Polong, Ceci, Jovi, Onib, Chibu, Patsy, Papoose, Mike, and the youngest, Jack. His father was Luis Olmedo Sr. from Manila. His mother was Lourdes Veloso from Leyte. After graduating with a BS degree in architecture at the Mapua Institute of Technology, he took the board exams and placed 7th. A few years later, after a couple of stints with architectural companies, he set up his own firm with his college friend, Manolo Evalia, as partner. As fate would have it, Evalia decided to migrate to the States for greener pastures, while Olmedo chose to stay in the Philippines. Soon after, tired of the rigid structuralism required in architecture, he shifted gears in his career path and ventured into art as a full-time profession. In 1967, he met and fell in love with Medina Rodriguez, an advertising and public relations professional. They got married in 1969 and became the proud parents of two lovely and talented girls, Gisela, nicknamed Bambi, and Francesca Joanna, nicknamed Franjo. Bambi is married to Rev Araneta. They have a cute 4-year-old son, Sebastian or Basti, Onib Olmedo's first grandchild. Franjo is married to Dr. Vicente Arias III. They have a beautiful baby girl named Isabel, Onib Olmedo's second grandchild. When Olmedo ventured into the world of Philippine art in 1971, art collectors were confounded, shocked, deeply disturbed, and even horrified by his works. For Olmedo's art was a total departure from the happy paintings that Filipinos had been exposed to for over 3 decades. Despite the early triumph of the modernist movement in the Philippine art scene, the late 60s and early 70s were dominated by conventional paintings that depicted the bright and colorful facets of life in our country. Thus, when Olmedo made his artistic debut, the uninitiated found many of his works horrendous and even repugnant. This is because Olmedo espoused the tenets of figurative expressionism, which in the 60s and 70s did not have any appeal for Filipinos. His works were not beautiful when one gauged them in the terms of the classical standards of beauty. They were characterized by dark, somber, and depressing tones. In many of his paintings, Olmedo breaks all the rules, disregarding the traditional principles of composition, color, harmony, and form. The most salient feature of Olmedo's works is the expressionistic idiom of distortion. As art professor and critic Alice Guillermo explains, none of his works is picture pretty, as Olmedo strips down the layers of muscle and nerve to expose the soul, deliberately using distortion of the human features. Many of Olmedo's paintings zero in on the human face, with a man or a woman staring at the viewer with ineffably sad eyes, which speak of their inner torment. Olmedo's career was launched with a series of paintings created in the 60s and exhibited in 1971 in an art show that revolved around the theme Singkong Suka, the Filipino term for 5 centavos worth of vinegar, which was then the retail price of the minimum amount of this household commodity at the smallest sari-sari stores. In this art exhibit, Olmedo created sour vinegar portraits of the denizens of Sampaloc. He used their faces as vehicles for his psychological probes and explorations of the soul of the common man. In subsequent art exhibits billed as 15 suka and 20 suka, meaning 15 and 20 centavos worth of vinegar, Olmedo further expounded on this theme. During this period, Olmedo's paintings were of specific people, his works containing props and personal effects that indicated his subject's social class, their occupation, and their circumstances in life. Among the most unforgettable characters he painted were people he met in his neighborhood in Sampaloc and his watering hole in Ermita. One of them is the Sampaguita girl. In many of his works, however, Olmedo comes up with more universal characterizations, focusing on the essence of the inner life of man, his inner demons, his fears, his anxieties, and his personal angst. Among his most critically acclaimed works are black and white ink wash paintings, portraying emaciated individuals with haunting skeletal faces and the dazed look of the demented. In the 80s and 90s, Olmedo expanded his artistic horizons, venturing into the portrayal of other subjects, including musicians, corporate executives, and ballerinas. His foray into the magical world of ballet was inspired by his two daughters' passion for this dance form. Olmedo also expanded his artistic palette, with his colors becoming brighter and more vibrant. Whatever his subject, however, there is still Onib Olmedo's signature trademark of distortion, unique composition, and multiple perspectives. In short, Olmedo remained consistent in his artistic vision. He adhered to the principles of expressionism, even when depicting such felicitous subjects as flowers, fruits, and other still lives. With his unique style and perceptive vision, Onib Olmedo had the satisfaction of earning international recognition for his work during his lifetime. Olmedo won two awards at the prestigious International Art Competition in Cagnes-sur-Mer, France in 1992, the very first Filipino to be accorded such a distinction. His award-winning works were two ink wash paintings. The Apartment shows the interiors of a two-level shanty, depicting how Filipinos sublimate their grief through inner peace derived from their passion for their music and their deep, abiding faith. The other award-winning painting is entitled Concert, which depicts the tension between a genuine appreciation of culture, exemplified by a person playing a violin on the fire escape of his New York flat, and modern society's obsession with life on the fast lane, symbolized by the motorcycles on the lower part of the view. In the 90s, Olmedo's art came of age. He was catapulted into national prominence, with his art exhibits enjoying unprecedented success. The adulation exhibited by the public for Olmedo's work marked a new era in the history of Philippine art when Filipino viewers had become more sophisticated and discerning in their taste for the finer things of life. They now understood the nuances of expressionist art, appreciating paintings for their cathartic value. Critics now assert that Olmedo has played a critical role in the history of Philippine art. At the summit of his career, he succeeded in raising the art consciousness of Filipinos to a level that went beyond the appreciation of paintings that were merely ornamental. Moreover, he continues to exert a vast influence on the young Filipino artists of the 21st century. Their works show that they have been inspired by their icon's worldview and his distinctive expressionistic style. Olmedo died in 1996 when he was only 59 years old. But he had already reached the apex of his career, earning not only critical acclaim, but also commercial success, with the public developing a genuine appreciation for his figurative expressionist art. It is therefore indisputable that Onib Olmedo has emerged as one of the major Filipino artists of the 20th century. Indeed, Onib Olmedo has left a lasting legacy for a whole new generation of Filipinos, leaving an indelible imprint on the history of Philippine art.
Thank you for coming to the virtual exhibit opening of Galleria Duemila. My name is Yana Garcia, and I'm your host for today. So, due to the pandemic and more than a year of worry and stress, the dust has risen. No longer are we ignoring our mental health as we have in the past. 4 decades ago, artist Onib Olmedo expressed the dark emotions and mental instabilities that the common Filipino experienced in their existence. He captured them and immortalized what few were able to see: trouble, worry, anguish, and stress. His works, old as they may be, bring us into the understanding of a problem that is all too contemporary and present. Alongside lead drama therapist Badoy Capati of Project Steady, visual artist Virgilio Pandy Aviado, and writer visual artist Alfredo Rosas, we would like to take you through understanding the artist, his works, significance of art, its therapy, and functions in mental health. To start us off, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Pandy Aviato. Virgilio Pandy Aviado is one of the first artists to receive the 13 Artist Award in 1970, given by the Cultural Center of the Philippines. As one of the pioneers of contemporary printmaking, he is responsible for the introduction of many renowned artists to this particular art form. Among them, Raimundo Albano, Alfredo, Mars Galang, and Ben Cab. Art luminaries such as Fernando Zabel, Roberto Arturo Luz, Cesar Legaspi, Anita Magsaysayho, and Jose Hoya all went to him for print editions of their works. Beyond traditional forms, Aviado also promotes the use of printmaking techniques and processes in contemporary and hybrid forms, making the graphic medium more accessible, especially for young artists. So without further ado, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Pandy, Mr. Aviado.
Hello, good afternoon. I would like to start my homage to Onib by talking a bit about what an artist like Onib has in mind, or what's happening inside him. Why was he able to paint all those things? So to start, I would like to give you a quotation from the American beat poet and writer Jack Kerouac. And the quote goes like this, that the only people for me are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time. The ones that never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn like fabulous yellow Roman candle. This, I could say, was what Onib was as an artist. He was looking for things that needed to be painted. And of course, we have seen a lot of videos and a lot of sites in the internet, but they all talk about Onib's art. This afternoon, hopefully I could share with you, I could channel his spirit and share with you what's happened, what has happened inside him. Why did he paint that way? I became close to Onib when I was at the Cultural Center of the Philippines as the director for visual arts. And there was a proposal that his two works be sent to Cannes-sur-Mer. That's a place in France where they have this prestigious contest, art contest. It's an international art contest. And so he came to visit me in my office, and while we were processing the papers, he would tell me stories about his trip to Europe. And he said that there was one time he ran out of cash And an idea came to him to maybe he could exchange his artworks, and maybe that could take care of the bill. But the guy he was giving it to, I think it's the owner of the hostel. He looked at the artwork and said, it's okay. They're not my style. That's not my style of artwork. So for him, he took it as a very interesting episode in his life, because in Manila people are crazy about his works, but he was there and he was trying to pay his way through his painting, and he got rejected. But these are things that he shared, and these are things that art critics wouldn't write down in the reviews. So it showed that Onib was a very true guy. I mean, there's nothing plastic about him. So we prepared the papers, and while the CCP was doing that, processing the papers, I took the opportunity to give him an etching plate. And I think there was an etching before this picture. Could we show that etching? Yeah, there, yeah. So I gave him this plate and I said, meanwhile, why don't you do an etching? And this was in 1993. And after 3 years, he was gone. And this was a little souvenir I got from him. But it's fascinating how the way he drew figures, and it reminded me of several artists. There's Jacques Levan, there's Rico Lebron, and there's Jose Luis Cuevas of Mexico, and others. Yeah, Francisco de Goya, yeah, George Rouault. These are all what art historians term as expressionist, or neo-expressionist, or neo-figurative, But the bottom line is that this thing for painting angst, it happened. It's always happening. It happened before. It's happening now. It's happened during the time of Onib, and for Onib, it was really hard, because some of them were disturbing. The images were very disturbing. But because Onib belonged to this elite group called the Taza de Oro group, which later became Saturday Group there, he was in good company. I mean, this was the art scene in the 70s, and he was very much into it. He was with Hernando Campo. He was with Odette Alcantara and Tiny Olaso. All these guys were great. I mean, it was a real group. Alan Kosho, of course. And then it was in this Saturday Group that that Onib started using this felt paper and crepas. Onib was not too. He was not bragging about acrylic paints or new tools. He was using very simple pencil, crepas, things that you could buy easily in National Bookstore. He was not very, he was not a pasikat. He was not a show off. Unlike other artists showing new brush or new paint or expensive art materials. He was very austere and very Spartan about the kind of things he used, and he was a master in using black and white, charcoal or whatever. He was a master in value tones, and of course, what happened to him also was that he was able to imbibe his surrounding. Onib is an empath. An empath is someone who goes into somebody's shoes to feel what it is. And because Onib was a bohemian at heart, he would go around the Malate Ermita area, and he would look at all these people, the marginalized, those people who were true, who were not plastic at all, who were trying to earn a living. And sometimes he would meet cigarette vendors, people who are selling sampaguita, sweepstake, things like that. And then he would see street performers. And these are all his dramatis personae of his painting. And this is what made this painting full of life. And yet, it's not a synthetic life. It's so meaningful. And of course, during that time, there were young people already looking at his works and admiring them. And these are the group of neo-figurative like Emong, Manigaribay, Disaling Pusa. In fact, as we have seen in the video clip before, he was given a special an exhibit specially dedicated to him, and he made a difference to these young kids who are now all successful. And he was also a very good friend of Alan Boscia. Both of them did a lot of this crepas on velvet paper, felt paper, sorry. And in the past homages, in shows, Alan was always there, singing his favorite song. Anyway, his kind of expressionism, I think, was his way of also coping up with the times. I think the topic here in our Zoom lecture is how do we dovetail art making or how do we make it so that art making can also be part of a person's therapy, because there is a kind of alchemy involved. There's a kind of a creation involved, and it was his passion to note down his surroundings. These are the two artworks that were really outstanding. That other one is if you go along Remedios and Mabini area, you'll see this thing, you know, in real life. And only was just articulating it with his artworks. And what else but just plain black and white. The same as Goya, the same as all those people, Rico Lebron and all that. What's nice was that when he was doing this, there were also young people already appreciating his art making. And that's what made Onib's art quite relevant and quite, he made a big contribution to Philippine art because of this, because he was able to show that an artist like him, although not a deft sketcher, he painted as if, you know, as if you're hearing Bob Dylan's music. You know, Bob Dylan was quite popular in the 60s. And he sang sometimes out of tune. And people enjoyed it. Because he was singing about, you know, Black people being murdered. And then there's the inequality between the rich and the poor. And then about, you know, unrequited love, you know, and things like this. That's why I, right away, when I see his works, I'm reminded of the Bob Dylan quote. And he says, the only beauty is ugly, man. The cracking, shaking, breaking sounds, the only beauty I understand. This is the same feeling when one looks at on his work, that even though it's ugly, it's beautiful. I know it's an oxymoron, but things happen in art that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for giving us a closer look on who Onib Olmedo was, not just as an artist, but as a person. Thank you so much, Mr. Aviado. Thank you.
Thank you.
To introduce our second speaker today, Gang Badoy Capati is a staunch advocate for the youth volunteerism movement through ROCAD Philippines, where she is also a prime organizer of disaster relief operations. She actively supports the Mindanao Peace Games, a league that encourages young girls to engage in sports. She's a mental fitness coach for the national athletes under the POC Athletes Commission. Under ROCAD, she spearheaded Project Steady, a web-wide mental health initiative focused on creative arts therapy for young adults. Ms. Capati believes that peace and progress are impossible if a nation doesn't prioritize the mental wellness of its citizens and leaders. In 2010, she was recognized as one of the outstanding women in the nation's service and also received the 10 Outstanding Young Men Award that same year. Additionally, Ms. Gang is a proud art history graduate from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. So without further ado, thank you, Ms. Gang.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. How do I say it? How do I start? Hi. I know you would many of us would rather have our videos off because maybe it's more comfortable. You feel you look pambahay or etc. But is it all right if I ask for like 2 seconds of you turning it on just so I can say hi? And because it's really rough for me to hi Romina, all the way wherever you are with the sunshine. Hi. I just wanted to check your faces because one, this is intimidating me. Two, I really need human faces so that okay, thank you. And then if you feel like you want to turn off your videos again, you are free to do so, because mental wellness is not about dictatorship and it's not about dictatorial. It's all mental wellness is about asking for help, and this you're turning on your videos for me right now is helping me, so thank you. I was actually to to be very honest, I wanted to see what Zara Windy looked like because she said that she posed for Onib. And I said, what does she look like? She must be gorgeous if she posed for Onib. So I just parang dinamay ko lang lahat kayo to turn on your video so I can see Zara. No, you know, I'm kidding. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gang. To give you a background, or you may turn off your videos now, it's fine. But thank you for turning it on. I feel like I'm talking to humans. I'm kind of tired of squares, you know, but you know, here we are. It's a pandemic and we adjust. So to introduce myself, as I don't assume most of you, I don't assume you know my work. How do I say this? For 9.5 years, 1 month short of 10 years, I taught in the maximum security prison. I was an art therapist without hindi ko sinadya. Parang to give you a background, because I think it can be terribly connected with Onib Olmedo's work. I was making a how do I say this? I was making a documentary for the Supreme Court that year, and my topic was congestion of jails, of prisons. I was assigned by then Supreme Court Chief Renato Puno. So in order to get access to the maximum security prison, I came up with an art program and presented it to the warden. So papasukin kami with cameras and etc. So I didn't mean to be a teacher in the Believe It, but because I wanted to finish a documentary that was supposed to show the realities, I had to gumawa ako ng paraan para makapasok sa maximum security. And so I invited Soliman Cruz, who's a theater veteran, to teach beginners acting. Ronnie Lazaro accompanied us, also a thespian. I had a rap artist group teach rap. I had an artist group teach artist. I taught creative writing and collage making. And so when we presented it to the warden, they said, "Oh, sige, pwede kayo pumasok," etc., etc. And and what was supposed to be a one-day art lesson became 9.5 years of my life, 9 and some years of my life. So that's my initial training as an art therapist. And you know what I realized? I don't know if you've been to the maximum security prison. I don't think it's something that the normal human being would love to go to on a regular basis. But if you're aware, how do I say this? You know, maybe parang mga 99% ng inmate na naging estudyante ko, they all came from the death penalty building. They call it building 1. In fact, in Tagalog, they call it bitay, which is Filipino for hang. I don't even know why I said that smiling. I'm sorry. It's a defense mechanism. It's supposed to be really sad, right? When they got to my class, I made them draw, I made them make collages, try out touching clay, write poetry. And I was very afraid kasi lahat sila talagang maximum security. I was very afraid that they wouldn't participate. But oh my gosh, guys, you're not gonna believe. When you say, "Sir, pwede namin tignan yung artwork mo," they really raise their hands and they go to the front and they show their artwork. And then I thought, let's hang your artworks in the library, because we built a library eventually. Also, something I'm very proud of. We built a learning resource center inside, and we would scotch tape their their artwork sa side. And then na-realize ko, parang ito yata yung mga batang hindi na napag-drawing. Parang hindi sila nag-drawing nung bata sila. Or kung nag-drawing man, baka walang magulang na naglagay ng drawing nila sa refrigerator. Nobody said, "Anak, ang galing naman ng drawing mo." And as a mental health therapist, I understand, we all know this, even in passing, that a lot of our adult challenges, mental challenges, really come from our childhood. So I thought, wow, it was such an observation, kasi the statistics were startling. I was really startled, like, wow, that's something else. So today, and I will also accompany you tomorrow, by the way, because I can never say no to Silvana Diaz. She petrifies me, and I'll tell you why. And I say that with such love because when I was 19 and an intern from art history, my first internship was with Galleria Duemila. I'm not sure if she remembers that. And the first artist I interviewed was Justin Duida and then Pandy Aviado, and he doesn't remember that either. And as an art history major, it was really Silvana who gave me a courage, courage to write because I was nothing. I was 19 years old, all nervous, and somebody who's such a prominent, recognized, respected art gallery curator and an art historian. I think for me, an expert, Silvana trusted me. And so I need you to know that look at the effect. Look at the effect, Silvana. I grew up. I'm now an art history major. I became an art therapist, and now I'm a certified trauma therapist and through art, creative arts, and etc. Because I used to be more active in the political scene, but the administration these days is a little too difficult for me to gear on. Does that make sense? So since 2016, I focused on mental health because I realized the best political and economic plan of a country is a mental wellness program. I think we cannot have leaders in the future anymore who are bringing all the trauma and all the challenges and all the pain with the disorders that come with it, possibly come with it, and they lead and make decisions for the country. I think that is an area that we think is not relevant to politics and economics, but mental. There can be no excellent, there can be no order if there's no mental well. Is it a fair assumption? Is that okay? Okay. So please remember, you're 36 people in the Zoom room, and I imagine you are all friends of the galleries. So I know that you are the art people. So what I will present now is not for you. It's for the people who will in the future see this and click this from the Galleria Duemila website. Is that fair? So if you're yawning and bored with my beginners art history classes, kindly just endure it, but I will connect it to mental health. Okay? Is that fair? Is that fair? Thumbs up, please, if you find that fair. Okay. Let me see that. Thumbs up. Please thumbs up. Yeah. Okay, there. Woo. I saw one or two. Derek, thank you for that. Much appreciated. Sige, game. So Silvana's gonna find this. Oh my God, it's such a beginners. So which made me name it 50.5 instead of Art History 101. So this is even half of the 101. And also before I begin, I want you to know that my art history classmate, Leo Abaya, died 2 days or 3 days ago. And this lecture of mine that I prepared so thoroughly for is in memory and in honor of him. I'm actually grieving right now. I'm actually in mourning, but if you can mentally regulate your grief, it can become good work. So hopefully this is good work. So I dedicate this lecture to Leo Abaya, who will for sure correct me if he were alive today. So let's begin. And this is so basic, okay? I will not tell you anything you can Google. I will synthesize everything. And if you hear catchphrases, just note them down and Google it later. This is, of course, the Caves of Altamira, which is supposed to be the oldest depiction of wall art and etc. So I showed this to my inmate students and my kindergarten students, and they said, "Why did they paint that?" And I said, "I don't know. Why do you think?" And they said, "So they know what to hunt." And I think it was so cute. Parang they thought the cavemen painted the bison so that their families know what to hunt. Parang, okay, ito yung kakainin natin. So pag makita kayong ganito, patayin niyo. So I thought, wow, art is instructional. That's awesome. So that's the Caves of Altamira. Go ahead and Google it tonight before you sleep. That's interesting. So this is what it looks like. And I wonder if it's decorative, because if they live in the caves, did they make it decorative? Parang the way we deal with, not rightly or wrongly, we mostly deal with art as something on a wall. But as you know, you can expand it. The art is way more than that. But one aspect of it is certainly the art on our walls. Why? Why do we put art on our walls? because you are living in your hearth, in your home. And when you open your eyes, you do want to see things that remind you of life. I was going to say that are beautiful, but we know because of Onib, he has expanded that option. It's not always pretty and flowers and fruit baskets and wine bottles. But if that's your thing, that's cool too. But we know that art is way more expansive than that. So this is the Greek kuros, which is figure of youth, figure of a young man. And if you notice the differences, like yung unang depictions ng kuros, parang ang stiff, parang talagang linear. And then slowly it gets softer and softer and softer through the years. And now you see more sinews of the muscles and etc. And just so you know, this is the Gothic sway. They call it the Gothic sway because Mother Mary used to be so stiff. And then when they when they imposed that, hey, lagyan naman natin ng galaw yung palda niya. Parang that's an inside joke of many of the Renaissance artists. They refer to it as the Gothic sway. And on the side note, if this is your first art history formal lecture ever, please know that Mother Mary in the Catholic religion and tradition is from the Gaza Strip. Okay, she's Nazarene, and I'm quite sure she doesn't look Italian. I'm quite sure she doesn't look like Kate Moss. But because the earliest depictions of Mother Mary in Byzantine and etc. that was commissioned by the emperors, because at that time it was Caesaro-Papism, whoever was the emperor was also the Pope. Yung artist matatalino eh. Katulad ng sinabi ni Pandy, totoo naman kami when we were making work, we also wanted to sell, of course. And back at that time, super smart na mga artists in the Renaissance, they would paint Mother Mary in the image of the one who commissions aunt or kamukha nung nanay or kamukha nung anak, as in probably the famous relationship of Michelangelo Buonarroti with the Medicis. You can Google that later. No problem. Kasi if you can Google it, sayang naman if I discuss it today. So let's just talk about it in synthesis. So look at the power of art. All your life, when you pray to Jesus, if you're Catholic or Christocentric, you pray to Jesus that looks like Kenny Loggins. I mean, you really pray to Jesus that looks like, a Ben Stiller with a beard. But Jesus is from the Gaza Strip. So I'm quite sure that's not what he looked like. But check out the power of art. Even in your spiritual moments, even in your most Catholic moments, you're praying in the vision of an artist. Somebody who first painted Jesus must have painted it from a model there in Italy, perhaps, or wherever the Renaissance was burgeoning at that time. For borders were not so clear back then, but here we are. So, ang lakas ng art, no? So, ang lakas kasi our sense of sight in the mental therapy world, our sense of sight is our reality. Alam mo yung saying na, I'll believe it when I see it, right? We have that, right? Kasi you'll only believe things if I see it. Pag makita ko, maniniwala ko. You say that because that's your, confirmation of truth. Does that make sense? So pag nakita ko, maniniwala ako. Pero pag hindi. And then, a whole other conversation can go with things you can't see and yet you believe in. So that's faith. But that's a whole other presentation altogether. Maybe we should have that another time. So this is the picture of the death of Mara by David. And the reason why I chose this is because I was always so fascinated at the foreshortening of how he drew the shoulder and how the sinew of the collarbone came out. Because if I always try to paint, I'm not a very good painter, but I'm a very good art historian lecturer. I always struggle with the foreshortening of the angle. And I said, wow, look at this. So they started making even the cloth, actually, even the way the cloth is falling and the shadows or etc. You can almost feel the softness of the fabric. And you can almost like picture the sinew of his upper arm. So parang, and these are brush strokes. Please, we might be forgetting this. These are brush strokes, and he made it look like this. So dun palang parang, damn, okay. So and then there's technology that shows up, and I was going to tell you the year the camera was invented, pero ayoko mag-invento, so paki-Google na lang. So they invented the camera, which absorbs light and etc. and prints on the film what it actually sees. So what is physically there. There is, the mechanism of the camera, right? The mirror, etc. And then it imprints, etc., etc. And so what the portrait artists say at this time, sabi nila, shit. Hindi, loko lang. It's a bad word. Shit. Mas magaling yung camera mag-capture ng portrait ng tao kasi it's realistic. Paano na kami? And we were painting their faces as portraits, but a camera can capture a human face far more accurately than we can. And thus, I think it gave birth to a lot of other art movements, because now I'm sure you're very familiar with this, because this is a movement that everybody knows about, because you have it in a calendar, in a mug, in a t-shirt, because this is the Impressionists. And why is it Impressionists? Again, if this is your first art history lesson, this is the impression on the artist. So it's not quite realistic. It's just the light and shadow and the play of it. And this is how the woman impressed me, and therefore I will paint it this way. So it's not really figurative. It's impression. It's an impression, right? So ang galing. I love this, Marcel Duchamp. And the title is Nude Descending the Staircase. I made it a point to put na the title para you can Google it. And they were saying, does it look like a nude descending the staircase? And then after a while, if you like blink your eyes, you're like, yeah, parang if you squint a bit. And I'll show you where it came from a slow exposure camera picture of an actual nude descending the staircase. So now you see the expression is, I mean, dito rin galing si Sir Onib eh. Nakukuha niya yung buong figure, tapos kaya niya in small polygons i-express yung buong figure. If you really think about it, hardcore. Sobrang galing nun kasi iba yung, I think the setup of his brain is really different, and the way he sees things, he can reduce the entire figure into different just polygons. So let's proceed. I was going to make you guess if you were in kindergarten, but you're not in kindergarten, so I won't make you guess. This is actually a portrait by Picasso. This is an early Picasso, and it's so interesting because you know Picasso as cubist, as more modern than this, but actually dito siya galing sa figurative. Kanya rin to, si Picasso rin to, early Picasso. Which means when you see a Picasso that looks like this, you know that Picasso is also a figurative painter. Therefore, this is not bullshit because it came from real figurative. Does that make sense? Because when we encounter, I'm going to go forward. When we encounter Picassos that look like this, you can say, kaya ko rin yan eh. Kaya ko rin yan eh. Pero let me explain. Oh my goodness, it's fantastic. With 10 to 11 strokes of a pencil, perhaps charcoal, Picasso captured the exact realistic ratio of the body of a dove and the twig and its head. You can actually, you know it's a dove and you know it's an olive twig. And please remember, this is post-war, so there was quite an obsession for peace at that time, and the dove was certainly a symbol of that. So this is kind of what it looks like. This is the Picasso you know, but this is also a famous Picasso. This is Guernica. I'm sure you know this. But Guernica is a town in Spain that was bombed. And if you look closely at the painting, you can actually hear the horse neigh in pain. You can almost picture the flames in the town. You can picture the screams of cattle and people. And he did it this way to make people remember. And like Onib, he didn't want to remember just the pretty daffodils, although they're really cool. I mean, daffodils are fine and meadows of flowers are always good. But I think he wanted to show also the human race, that life is so multidimensional, and that I know we want to just look at pretty things, but there are things that are dark. There are things that are sharp, and there are things that are sad, and they happen. But we are humans, and we can bounce back, and we can etc. and then enjoy beauty again. So Onib Olmedo, and for me, the abstract expressionists who show the darker side, as Pandy Aviato explained, he's like Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan, if you're familiar with him, he totally mumbles. You can never get the lyrics of his songs. Medyo bulol-bulol, and out of tune most of the time. But what an impact he had on the world, because what he said was, I'm not an opera singer. I'm not even pitch perfect. You don't even understand every syllable I'm saying, but I have something to say, and I'm a musician, and I have messages of peace. And so the ordinary human says, oh my gosh, ako rin ganyan. I'm also that way. So they brought the dream closer to the ordinary person, that it's not always the brilliant, the exciting, the sharp, it's also the dirty. It's also the what we see as ordinary. That's also worth capturing on pastel, on crepas, or whatever austere materials Onib Olmedo used. I love that about him, by the way, when Sir Pandy Aviato explained that hindi siya ma-show off some materials, right? He can just get ordinary, but he's rather austere about it and pretty much stayed in black and white. That's also such a mental state reflection because he understands that there is black and white in the world, but he also perfected the shades of gray. And this entire last 7 minutes of me making daldal is really a metaphor for mental health, as you are getting that by now, I'm sure. So sometimes we know a pain so well, we can draw it in simple lines. And sometimes there are days in our lives where things are so simple, and there are days when they're really complex, and that's mental wellness. So let me show you this, Henri Matisse. So I love this because I always show this to kindergarten kids and they say, I can do that, I can do that. Give me art paper. And so we try to replicate it as best we can. And kaya naman, kaya naman ng mga kindergarten. Pero that it came from Henri Matisse in his late age, and he was already famously legally blind around this time, also rather bedridden and immobile. That's what makes this artwork or this series so fascinating, because the process came from a more interesting circumstance. So I always show this to my students who are not very familiar with art, because I say, what do you see? And they say, of course, a figure of a woman. And then I say, check that out. I mean, there's such simple cutouts of blue paper, and yet that the woman is sitting cross-legged, is dancing, has her arm up here, and that's hard. That's hard. Have you ever tried drawing figures, or you ever tried drawing your hand? It's insane. You must have a different kind of sight, the way Onib Olmedo had. Maybe he sees it differently. And to just fascinate you, this is what Henri Matisse looks like when he cuts out his stuff. He has an assistant, an intern probably, and she or he will say, okay, okay, Henri Matisse, that is green, this is blue, this is yellow, this is red, and then he cuts it, and then he sticks it, and as you see here, he's already bound to the chair, but yet he still kept drawing and drawing. So as a mental health metaphor, that there are challenges in our lives, and there are hindrances, I think, to our joy, but we find ways. I think we really find ways to create, to still create despite. I think that's one. So ganito rin siya ka-fascinating, kasi I don't think if you ever saw, if you're a distant viewer of art, you don't really see the process of the artist. So the appreciation of the artwork is almost confined to the finished product. So parang, I like this painting or I don't like this painting. So today, what I want to tell you is, so by the way, our mental wellness session is still tomorrow, but today is an intro. Today, I want, every time you see an artwork, you're going to have to say, how did they make this? Ask yourself, ano yung process nito? Did they cut paper? And I want you to research. There's no excuse anymore not to research. Information is on our fingertips. You can Google. How old was he when he made this art? What was he doing? Naghiwalay ba sila ng asawa niya at this time? And you can really have a conversation with the artist. I think yun eh. Yung conversation with the artist, that's what makes it so different. Kausapin mo, and when you look at an artwork and realize, oh, he made this when he was so and so age, and it was a dark time, and what was happening in their country? Oh, nag-invade si Hitler nung time na yon. Wow. And then you get to see larger and larger pictures, of the artwork instead of just the finished product. So the appreciation you have for the artwork will be more expansive, and of course, it's a metaphor, right? Some people see you as you. So they meet you, either you're masungit, you're happy, you're good, you're smart, you're not. And we are judged by first impression. Of course, so they say, oh, I like Sophie, she's friendly. Marcos smiles a lot, so he's probably nice. Silvana is, she's very chatty, so I think she's very warm. So napaka one dimension, but we know human beings are way more complex than that. So I want you to know that what we can learn from art appreciation is the same with humans. Sometimes we only see the finished product or what's already framed or what's already on the wall, but that there's such deep stories behind behind people. What were their childhoods like? What was the power structure in their house? What kind of traumas did they go through? How did they transcend? Were they rich? Were they poor? Were they was the father present? Was the mother not? So there were so many stories behind one person and behind you that only people who will appreciate you will dig inside your artwork and actually say, oh, what a process. For example, Sandra, you'll say, oh, what a process Sandra had to go through to get to this state of mind. Romina being where she is and still terribly connected to Manila and doing work from across the globe in a different hemisphere. So what is this like? Oh, because she's a product of two cultures. She's Italian and she's also Filipino. So we get to appreciate each other. So that's, I think, what I want to, the first point I really wanted to make is that you must appreciate the process behind, not must, because, but if you want to, you must appreciate the process behind, because it will give you much more than a painting. It will give you a conversation with the artist. So this is a Jackson Pollock. And wow, you should see his action shots. It's amazing. Google him tonight. He works with his entire body, flicking the trajectory, sometimes with a brush, sometimes a palette knife. But you can see that his entire being is part of composing and may kasamang physics. Kasi I don't think you can create the end product that he does na mahina yung tapon mo. Does that make sense? So halos parang tennis backhand, forehand. I don't know if he used both hands or just the dominant hand. That's so curious. I don't have answers to that, but what a conversation I've been having with Jackson Pollock these past 30 years. I'm wondering, do you do this? And then research a bit more. So it ceases to become just a flat thing that looks like this. So with your friends, your family, people you love, people you work with, you're gonna have to look beyond what the flat surface is. I think you're gonna have to ask the process. How did they get here? Are they nice? Were they loved? Sometimes I do that with the president. I always think of Rodrigo Duterte on a regular basis when I study trauma research, and I'm thinking, what's his childhood like that he turned out so not polite? What was the trauma here? I want to understand, because I have a feeling by nature when children feel safe, we grow up to be kinder human beings. Or when we feel safe in an environment, we're kinder, we're more generous. When we feel threatened, that's when we fight, that's when we growl. And it's very tiring to constantly be on a fight mode or flight. Like me, I flee a lot or freeze. So it's an ang lalim. And even with Onib Olmedo, especially when I watch his paintings, parang, maganda naman misis ni Onib, pero ba't yung mga painting niya? Parang, di ba? It's so funny. But, that's human. That's being human. Look at Jackson Pollock's entire body. Like really, it's almost like a kinetic work of movement talaga. So, you don't just say, kaya ng anak ko na 4 years old. Pag nag-spill ng spaghetti, ganyan din itsura sa rag namin eh. But, it's a different process. Hopefully, this 101 gave you a little bit of a new muscle when you see art, a new set of lenses when you watch art on the walls and you see it. So, when I look at this, I wanted to really to do a thorough thing on it, but Sir Pandy covered it so well. So I'll just do this as an art exercise. Like, even if you don't know who this is, I want you to ask, I wonder who this is. I wonder what he was thinking. Is he supposed to be happy or stressed? And then also go further with your imagination. I wonder if this man is married. I wonder if this man has children, etc. It's good mental exercise. It's really good mental exercise. Stretch naman the kalawang in your brain every now and then. It's a pandemic sophomore year. We've all been constrained. Our movements have been so controlled. Maybe a lot of us have a lot of more anxious days and nights. I don't know where you are in your mental health state, but for sure, it's not the same as pre-pandemic. So the more we have to make it, what's the word? Purposeful, kailangan sadyain yung mental care. So let's go to another artwork of Onib. I also want to know, like, who posed for him? I mean, did he have conversations? Because I know that these are portraits of the mental challenges or disorders, etc. So, tanong mo, di ba, parang, what was he thinking? What was it like? Was there really a fence where he was? I mean, I wonder where this fence came from. Was it something he saw while driving in an empty parking lot or etc.? And
This was New York. New York.
New York, New York. Okay, so have a conversation. Thanks, Silvana. Have a conversation with Onib when you look at his artwork, because I think he has so much to say. And you know what he's telling you? He's telling you that, I'm going to stop sharing now and go to my face. You know what he's telling us? He's telling us that the world is so wide and there are beautiful things and then there are quiet things, but the reality is we will really cycle and circle dark, light, gray, happy, sad, ugly, and what's ugly for others is beautiful for me, and what's beautiful for you is not beautiful so much for others. And so we already know that. I know that you know that, but we need reminding. And what great reminder than art, right? So I want to thank Galleria Duemila for really engaging Project Steady and mental health, our mental health project this afternoon. I'm going to stop the input now, but let's take questions, but I'd rather take insight. Like if there's something you picked up, something you want to share, something you want to learn, now is the time. I'll open the floor. Derek, thank you for your hand waving. I hope that that quick input was a conversation opener. So anybody with a question or something you want to share upon insight, and may I share that in the room with us is Heidelin Diaz, our Olympian. She is no, she's someone I accompany a lot. Heidelin, please say hello. She's representing us in a few months for the Olympics. She's our golden girl. And we also have in the room Rubilan Amit, but her name is Bing Amit. She's a girl with a profile picture with a flag. She is our two-time world champion in billiards. How amazing is that? We have athletes and artists in one room, my favorite kind of people. And I always say this, whenever a public official or a government official embarrasses me, which is a lot these days, there is an athlete and an artist that makes me proud. Onib Olmedo being one of them. Heidelin Diaz, you only see her in the podium with her great lipstick and megawatt smile, but you know she goes through everyday buhat, workout, there's dirt, there is dust. Like Onib Olmedo, she also produces artwork born from grit. So I appreciate that you're here. Also, of course, I see Alfredo Roses and a lot of other more intimidating names this afternoon. So I'm going to stop talking now and open the floor. I'll open the floor for insight or questions. So I'm going to start with Romina, because you're far.
Yeah. Well, Onib Olmedo is my godfather. And of course, I was born into a household where I would get scared to go into the house because some new sculpture would be there. And everybody, I remember when people were saying, oh, who would put Onib Olmedo on the walls? But I always used to love it because I think living, especially in Pasay, I'm not a Makati girl, I'm a Pasay girl. And, I lived really in the down and dirty area of Manila. And my friends were both the richest and of the poorest. And I saw that grit. I saw that, I saw that pain. I mean, they would even like share with me that butil of rice if they could. And I think he was the only artist at that time that really was able to depict that image. For me, that I was a 7-year-old, parang everybody else was painting or abstract or it was really maganda or colors. But Onib Olmedo didn't want to please the client. He wanted to show the client what was true. Of course, it was hard also on the part of the gallerist, which was my mother at that time. But you see, I think the beauty about gallerists like my mom is she has an eye for works that is not of her time and is not of their time. So Onib Olmedo, I think, is one of that. He represented the Filipino really for how they are, and it's not always beautiful like life, no. So that's what I think, and I think that
I'll take
the
off from
way the way he represented mental health when mental health in the Philippines was a myth. Because, Filipinos are not supposed to suffer from mental health. We are the happy-go-lucky, smiling always people. But that's not the truth. We
You know
do
what?
suffer. And even worse, kasi niloloob natin eh.
Yeah, that's so true. Romina, I'll take off from there because a lot. I know that this is the choir. I know that I'm preaching to the choir, but generally you can point to any Filipino, and if they ask you, what do you understand about mental health? And anong tingin mo yung mentally well person? They will always say yung person na masaya. And we always need to remind ourselves that a mentally well person is not happy 24/7. That's sociopathic. I think that's psychopathic. There's something wrong with you if you're happy 24/7, 365. A mentally well person feels the depths of despair, the darkness, and also feels the joy, hopefully, and the happy moments and the quiet moments. Pero kaya niyang mag-regulate. I really want us to imagine that we have a mental wellness volume button. It's not on off. It's volume 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 8, 7, 6, 5. Minsan masaya tayo. So just go up and down that number line. Try to picture it. It's not on happy, off happy. When it's that abrupt, that's not natural. Yeah, because what is nature? Nature really takes time. There is a seed, you need to water it. It grows 1 leaf, 2 leaves, 3 stalks, ganyan. So you know that the nature, what is natural, takes time. Therefore, if our feelings are natural, and they are, and emotions are natural, you might need to want to remind yourself that you need 5 to 7 minutes to calm down. When you're feeling anger, you regulate, calm down. I think
that's the Philippines. In Italy, it takes longer for them to calm down.
Well, yes, and that's why I think they're
so
very
each country has their own way of expressing themselves. I mean, here, kala mo galit, pero hindi pala passionate. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just when I bring an Italian to the Philippines, they're like, "Why are you fighting with each other?" I think no, that's just how they express themselves. So it also varies on the country that you're in.
May I show you one more thing? Like it's called an atlas of feelings. So let me share, okay? I don't know if you can see it, but can you see? Okay. When
I can see it.
This is a stimulus. If a friend gets angry at you, you get mad and then you argue or you fight, okay? But how does this happen? Sometimes a friend gets angry at you and you are puyat. So let's add a word. Yeah. Just a second. It's loading. So if a friend gets angry at you and you are puyat, that's really awful, and you are low energy, mas malaki yung fight. Does that make sense? Okay, and then same stimuli. If a friend gets angry at you and you had a childhood experience with a bully and it reminds you of it, then you feel attacked. So let's add a bit more awareness. Okay, let's open, like Onib Olmedo, let's do the dark and shade. When you are puyat, your body is tense all day. When a friend gets angry at you and then you feel attacked. Okay, so I need to show you the bigger picture. When the same stimuli, you have other options other than just to fight back. Does this make sense? Okay, I know it's not as linear because life is messy and feelings are messy, but sometimes it's helpful to see these things. And I'm going to show you something extreme. When we use the same stimulus, which is same cause, a friend gets angry at you, sometimes you feel enjoyment. It's really strange, and it's the same stimulus. And then you gloat. So how does this happen? Let's look at the bigger picture. Pwede siyang in the context of a sport, like ikaw yung gumawa ng point, tapos parang galit yung isa, and you're like, ha ha ha, I did the point, and you can high five. So look at that. It's the same stimulus, pero you're enjoying. Pero pwede rin, dahil ikaw yung nag-score, napikon yung isa, ang taas ng adrenaline mo. This is what I was talking about kanina. Sometimes you're facing the same situation, pero puyat ka. Sometimes you're facing the same situation, pero hindi ka nag-breakfast. And a lot of us, we're facing the same situation, tas walang kape. Oh my God. Diba? Parang you're super like times 10 yung bitch level mo tumataas kasi walang kape or walang whatever. So let's look at this now. When a friend gets angry at you, it's in a context, and you have an adrenaline rush, you can actually enjoy it and say, ha ha ha, nagalit siya. And I have one thing another landscape to show you. I'll show you na the full. Sometimes a friend can get mad at you. You are afraid because you associate a fight with someone leaving you. How interesting is that, right? So why is it hard to stay aware? Why? Because we only see this one line. We only see this one line. Most of the time, you need to see the whole picture. And kasi nung bata ka siguro, or every breakup naman, usually galing sa fight. Pag may nag-fight, nagalit sa'yo, na-associate mo siya sa abandonment, at pag umalis siya, mag-isa ka. So when somebody gets angry at you, you're afraid. Is it weird? Isn't that weird? So the same stimulus, you can be either happy, enjoying it, be afraid, or this is so funny because you sometimes can get angry and you feel disgust because parang sino ka para magalit sa akin, parang ganyan, and you belittle. But actually, it might come from other places too. Most of the time, when it reminds you of insensitivity, you avoid them because we generally, and I'm gonna go back and turn this off, pause share, and I'm going to go back to my face. Because ang bilis natin mag-associate. Does that make sense? So Onib Olmedo really showed you the larger picture. Showed you the larger picture that there are dark corners there. I don't think he was so much obsessed with it as much as he was obsessed showing the world that it's not all light. That there's a lot of shadows. So I think we have a question from Babette. Did you ever have difficulty connecting Onib, the guy with a dull sense of humor, to his artwork, the dark side? Because I heard he has a lot of puns and he's very witty. But did you have a hard time connecting that with his artwork? Babette is asking.
To, I think, Savannah Diaz or to Pandy Aviado was the question.
To me?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a very extremely witty person and also very friendly. It's like he was a psycho. He understood people psychologically. You know, he's like he felt them. He did not have to be sad himself. He was an observer. And when he was very playful, in fact, he was also very calm. He used to play chess, and he used to laugh a lot. And, you know, he was always together with Odette Alcantara and with me. They used to call us the three, and with, what's the name?
Alan Kosho.
Alan Kosho,
Alan
but
Kosho, yeah.
no, the three girl with me, Odette, and the writer Fernando. My age. She just died lately. She did also the moon, and she
Alice
does
Guillermo.
Alice Guillermo, yeah.
no. The soul book.
Hilda Cordero.
Hilda Cordero. Okay.
He was also a good friend of Jack Chutico.
After.
After.
Yeah. He's after. Yeah. After. But so you see, the three of us, we used to go laughing. We used to go lunch together, dinner together. In fact, it was known that I used to pick him up with my TR4 in a Spider, and he was so happy we'd go to dinner. So he observes people. He's not a sad character at all. He's very witty, and he's very, how do you call it? He's also minute, like psychologically, he can feel people, like telepathy. He has almost telepathy on people. That's why he can feel their soul. He can feel what's going on in them. He has such an ability of feeling.
Ma'am Silvana, I have a question. You know how they always say that art is a reflection of you, etc., etc., and that I'm hearing right now you're saying he doesn't have to be sad himself, even if he draws the dark and etc. He has wit, he's funny, etc. I think how do I say this? I think he had one of a very well balanced view because he doesn't have to be his work. He knows that it can express one side of him, but he doesn't have to be a droll. He doesn't have to be a dark character himself. But Beth, does that make sense? Because sometimes when we create things, they accurately depict our present mood, but but it shows how multifaceted we are. That's my point about mental wellness yata. It's not the mentally well person is not the one that's happy all the time. The mentally well person is someone who feels everything but can regulate, dial up or dial down when to bounce back, however slowly. But
There's a song in the 50s, and it's called "I'm Laughing on the Outside and Crying on the Inside."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's Onib.
yeah.
Always laughing on the outside, but crying in the inside.
But it went somewhere. Can you imagine the energy of sadness and etc.? At
Oh
least
yeah, definitely.
that's
I mean, yeah. I mean,
Well, remember, we were also under martial law.
yeah.
Also
yeah.
politically, and also
And
handy to buy material. At the time, it was so hard to find material.
Yeah.
And the Saturday group is a group where, since we did not have really any information from the outside, remember, it was only who will come into the country. And it was this conversation with artists and political artists, writer, dancer.
it was also the time when there was a lot of sexual business was going on. Yeah, there was pornography in the comics. It was a way of Marcos controlling the people by giving them filth. There were a lot of bars in that area, and there were a lot of street walkers. Really, it was decadence.
Yeah,
What a great time.
We were asking. Sex tourism was part of the thing, you know.
True.
Really.
Yeah. The hotel was full of sex tourism. That's true.
And well,
But you know,
Onib Onib took care of drawing all that.
you know, we used to sit in pensione, Malate Pensione, where there are all the backpackers. We used to take coffee there.
Yeah.
And with coffee and everything. And
He was always there. Onib was always there with Alan. Oh.
That's correct. Also Tiny. Tiny was there. I was there. Yeah. And he used to draw. He used to draw all this. That's why he has a lot of photos.
The American tourist.
Yeah. Yeah. He used to draw all of this. But you know, one thing of Onib maybe that you don't know, he was a great sportsman. He played tennis every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He plays tennis every morning. That's what I know. He was telling me all the time. So, you know, he has this energy. He looks quiet, but he was not quiet. He was full of energy inside himself.
Right.
Yeah. So, and he saw the world in a way that it was very hard. We saw the misery around, but he got it. He got it in the soul. Yeah.
That's so interesting because a lot of people imagine that we're so one-dimensional or linear na kung malungkot yung work mo, malungkot kang tao rin. It's amazing. So I think Onib, me finding out that Onib is a funny, witty, athletic guy is a revelation, because I'm like, wow, that's a real human being. All the aspects covered, etc. Alam mo, Silvana and Pandy, one of the examples I always hear from the theater world is that Lou Veloso and even Rene Requiestas are really, really quiet in real life. Like they're almost shy. Can you see the parang the parallelism with Onib? Parang may darkness pero ganito. Rene Requiestas so funny, so slapstick, pero in between shoots daw, he's eating alone. He's just really quiet, so soft-spoken. I think that's such a testament to how multidimensional we are. And I really think us, everybody here in the Zoom room and anybody watching this 5 years from now, as you click Galleria Duemila's Facebook, you have to give yourself that space to feel sad, be sharp, be sad, happy sometimes, and be etc. Introverts, well, introversion, is that a question, Zara? Introversion and extroversion, it usually is, it comes from where you draw energy. So you can be very outgoing, like me. I sound like I'm outgoing, but I draw my energy from being alone and doing a lot of alone research work. So I'm outgoing, but I have introversion in me also. So I think Silvana also has a balance of extroversion and introversion. Certainly, Sir Pandy.
She's an ambivert.
I think we are both. I think we are both. It just, I don't think we are just one. I think we really have to understand that as human beings, we really have all the seasons in us. You know, winter, spring, summer, fall. Hindi yung parang, oh, I'm introverted, done. And then all your life you're introvert. Parang no, we have changed so much. We have evolved so much. And we see that in the art, in the work. We have seen even Silvana, like, in the art that she chooses, in the way she curates. Also, Pandy, we have all gotten older, and we see that, in our works. And I love
Onib was also a good chess player. He
Wow.
loves playing chess.
Super, yeah.
He was
Wow.
always there in the place of Odette
Odette.
Alcantara. Yeah, and they
Okay,
would
yeah.
play chess with Leonie Benessa, with
Wow.
Heber Bartolome, with
Odette,
everybody. Yeah, and
yeah.
Tiny was also a
Yeah.
chess player.
Also, yeah.
No, and I remember these nights where all the adults, because I would be the saling pusa, the little kid running around, where they would actually sit down and read poetry and laugh at poetry, and it
Yeah.
was such there was so much creation happening. If they weren't drawing, they were discussing. If they weren't discussing, they were reading to each other, and it was, I mean, I haven't seen that in the art world for a long time. Well, maybe now because the pandemic has closed us in, and who's ever extrovert has become introvert, and they're dying. So, they're doing these Zoom meetings so that they can actually find stimulus, and that's really what's happening.
Evie Avellana Kosho said, Oni was also a very melancholy person.
Yeah.
Would you like to join us, Anna? We can. That's amazing. That's amazing. You're also, well, what an honor and privilege to actually know him personally. I only know him from his artwork and I'm already starstruck. So, anybody else with a question or an insight to share, just raise your hand because I know we open the floor, even if it's just us for spotlight right now. We can take all the spotlights out, Yana, and then just see the whole gallery all together. I just wanted to spotlight Pandy and Silvana earlier because they were having a great side by side conversation on him. So I think there's no greater takeaway today than really accepting things that we are capable of dark shit, and we're also capable of brilliant, shiny things, and we're also everything in between. You're not trapped. You really move up and down that spectrum of happy and sad. I think Onib Olmedo helped us along with that, and you know what? I also love, by the way, happy paintings. Don't get me wrong. I also do. Those are necessary too. So I think kills us, what kills us and traps us in the mental wellness, in the mental wellness rut is when we are not moving. I think it's that. In the end, I think it's really the non-movement of your brain, of your heart, of your limbs, of your muscles that will kill you in the end. If I may use a cardiology metaphor, you're gonna need to move because your heart needs to keep pumping blood, oxygen, take in, take out, exhale, carbon dioxide, inhale, and you need to move. Yeah, and my favorite, I love that Pandy Aviado started with a quote from Jack Kerouac. Did you know, Sir Pandy, that that's actually my favorite Jack Kerouac quote? When you opened with it, I'm like, I'm in the
On
right.
the road. We're on the road.
When you open, it's my absolute favorite quote. In fact, I had it up on my wall most of my grad school, and that's a quote I share with an older brother, that the only people are the mad ones, the ones who are mad to live, mad to talk, mad to be saved, desirous of everything at the same time, the ones that never yawn or say a commonplace thing, but burn, burn, burn. It's really my favorite quote. So when you said that earlier, I was like, I'm in the right Zoom meeting.
Synchronicity.
And why? I know. And why do I love that? Why do I love that? Kasi our default always is
ours or yours?
To burn. Parang we think burn is a bad verb. Because totoo naman, burn can consume. I'm so burnt out. Di ba? We say that all the time. But burn is also what shines bright. So it's just a matter of finding the balance of that burn. You can either burn to a crisp and disappear, or burn and light ways. You can light roads that are dark. You can guide. And so befriend the word burn. You know, the word burn has a whole scale to it, 0 to 10. It's not always bad, and it's not always brilliant either. I get it.
The sun is always burning.
I know. It's so awesome. Anybody with more?
Or even like Bruce Lee, no? Diba? He said that Bruce Lee said that if you love fast, it's like a quick fire, but the love that lasts are like the slow coal burns that
blue fire,
that are
blue flame.
Yeah, blue fire, exactly.
Blue flame. Yeah,
so be the blue flame, look for that blue flame. But the whole passionate thing, that's good too. It's good to learn from that as well.
Oh yeah, everything in moderation, including moderation. Ako isa ko pang favorite quote is it is movement that will preserve your organs. That's Aristotle actually, and Hippocrates. It is movement that will keep you alive. Meaning everything really atrophies from lack of use. When somebody is bedridden, you also need to turn them over, massage for circulation, every now and then sit someone up. I know this because my mother has Alzheimer's and she's bedridden. So we really move her around because we know that her blood circulation is endangered when when she stagnates. And so please remember, everything atrophies from lack of use and lack of movement, including courage and love and wellness and peace. Hindi lang muscle. So there's so much to learn pa.
Somebody has a question?
Sure.
Somebody has a question.
Oh, Zara has I think it's, if you feel it's okay to ask the question publicly, Zara, go ahead. This evening is about Onib, so go ahead.
Okay. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. I don't know. Yeah.
Yes.
So actually, I posed for Onib a few months before he passed on, and I've been all this time. I know where one of the works is, and I'm looking for the other one. So, is there someone I can contact to try to locate this? It would mean so much to me. Yeah, that's my question. It's kind of personal.
No, it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
I think it lends texture. So thank you for asking that. Because we have a tendency to may tendency kasi tayo na hindi sila real people when we only always encounter their works. So when you ask that, hey, I posed for him a few months before he left our mortal coil, parang it adds texture to me. So I appreciate that question. Anybody with an insight to share or a question? Oh, there, you got your answer, Zara. Yay.
Thank you. I will send an email. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody with a question? Or an insight? I want to hear from Marco or Sophie. Sophie Mansof, that's my sister. Hi.
Hi, guys.
I asked her to log in. Para at least may isang mag-cheer sa akin. Dalawa ka lang. Anybody with an insight, or can we wrap up now? Kasi I don't want to keep any of you and respect your time. But Silvana, I think there's so many other questions on it. Is there any, Sir Pandy, what made you, because you shared Onib played chess and then he was also an athlete, etc. Are there other aspects of Onib Olmedo that somebody who just sees his work now will be surprised?
There is a story of Onib. He was caught by the police. He was caught by the police and they took away his plate, the car plate. So what he did, he he painted the plate and put it at the back of his car. And then he was caught again. He was caught again. So the police, he tried to give him some money. And the police was going to take his car. And then the police asked for money, and he had only 20 pesos in his pocket. And the police, okay, he'll say, give me the 20 pesos. But then Onib told him, but if you get the 20 pesos, then I have no more money to go home.
I find it very edifying to hear great, for me,
Stories,
great,
yeah.
great people have ordinary stories. Pandy, any other insight or question? Hey, we can take questions from the floor.
Yeah. When you look at the stars at night, do you know that some of them are already dead? Because it takes many years for the light to travel. That's the same as people like Onib. They might be dead already, but the light still glows, still continues.
Yes.
That's my metaphor.
I think we should have that as the last line, echoing from this seminar. Scientifically, you are correct, Sir Pandy. A lot of the clusters of gas billions of miles away have already been extinguished. They're no longer there. But since they are
still see their light.
Yes, but we are so slow on Earth in terms of the travel of the light that we still see stars that are no longer there.
Right.
A great metaphor for Onib Olmedo. Fantastic. So, any insight or question? Go ahead, Ma'am Silvana. Go ahead.
No, there is somebody who was wanted to say something.
Ni-reject pala yung painting niya, tapos kinuha yung 20 pesos niya ng police. Jeffrey, you has an answer. I hope I pronounced your name right. Onib as an architect. Had being an architect influenced his artwork? Do you think studying architecture influences artwork? Silvana or Pandy, or whoever wants to answer.
You know, Onib, when he was sketching, he would just look at the subject for a few seconds. Then he will start drawing, and then it was not like academically he will follow. He will just look at it when we were sketching, and then he will go his way. He will maybe have a second look, but then he goes on his own. And everything was memory. It's not like he worked through photograph or he works through. So these are all great impression, even when he walk in the street or thing like this, that he sees. And he keeps as a memory. He makes sketches. He makes sketches everywhere. I have a lot of his sketches everywhere. Like, for example, if you see, he made a lot of many portraits of me. So I go from good looking to somebody who is a Nazi jailer to a crazy woman to he saw me in such a hundred way. So I don't know if he was feeling that I was upset in that time or not, but it's amazing the way Onib can paint without really have a reference or just sketch. That's what he will do many times. He will just sketch down object. I never saw him with a photograph, actually, with a camera.
Oh, wow.
So he was very instinctive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So should we have a Ouija board now? And
instinctive.
all for the spirit.
I like the instinctive and austere. Wow, we need him to be president of the Philippines. Kidding. Sir Onib is a good friend of our boss, Manny Ariola, Nick Masangkay.
Oh my God, yeah.
Manny Ariola.
Sa office namin sa J. Walter in Malate. Wala siyang sayang na time. Lagi siyang gumagawa ng artworks, making experiments, very focused. Pag bumibisita siya sa friends, nag-experiment din siya doon. Wow.
Actually, with Manny Ariola, I am next to him. Can you see this picture? This I'm there. I'm there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, with Manny Ariola, one he put oil in the face of Onib, and then he put it in a Xerox machine, and then he printed on it. So I have that Xerox copy of the portrait of Onib. Very funny.
That sounds so playful. Parang hindi ko ma-imagine.
They were very playful with Ariola. Oh yeah. With beer and talk, super playful.
You know, Silvana and Pandy and I guess everyone in the Zoom room. My father used to have like his own office in Malate, and his office was also there. So I'd always be around Malate when I was a child, right, Manso? And then I would always pass by Tasa de Oro, and I know that the font used was Old English. So when I was a kid, I always thought it was Casa de Oro, like house. And then only when I heard it recently that you talked about the Saturday group that it's Casa de Oro, I'm like, what? All my childhood, I thought it was Casa de Oro. So, and even in that area of Malate, which I think Onib Olmedo occupies to this day, andun din yung Guernica dati, di ba? Nandun din yung or house for photographers, and how, you know, what a wonderful space that gave birth to so many. And you know, we all know that Malate has grit. It's not the cleanest zone. So I have a feeling
Indios Bravos was also there. Indios Bravos and Gray November.
Yeah. So I have a feeling, parang maybe we undervalue the exposure to dust and grime and pollution. Maybe those give birth to other works too. As much as we want great environments that have clear air and etc. Let's not forget that minsan may joke kami pala. Sorry, this might offend many of you, but I'll say it anyway. There's a joke amongst street journalists that kapag anak mayaman daw, hindi magaling na photojournalist kasi sanay sa malinis. So, and I said, why? Wala silang talent? And they said, hindi, laging sinisipon. Laging nagkakasakit when on the field. So then we gave birth to the idea that kids who run around barefoot are sturdier and they can be war journalists and etc. So that's always the joke. Not to disparage anyone, of course, it's just always a joke. But I think Onib Olmedo lightheartedly and profoundly said that to us, na parang talagang may ibang side yung world eh. So will there be a book project on Onib retrospect? Please, someone needs to start. Jeffrey Yu says. You've been kind of quiet, baka you're shy, but if you want to unmute Mr. Yu, you may. And we can see and hear you.
Oh, thank you, but I rather text.
Okay, no worries. Thank you for participating.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
So, Silvana, a retrospective book on Onib.
Yes. Sana meron. I think it's the right time. Since last year, 2020, I went to art fair and it was tribute to Onib, right?
Yes. The art fair, yeah. They were
it's a tribute to Onib because our contemporaries right now, because I'm an art history major, so I don't paint, but there were my contemporaries. They're really all on the frame, on fire now. The people who admired and possibly followed Onib in terms of view, Manny Garibay, Elmer Berlongan, etc. They're all there. So you're right, maybe it's time. I don't know.
Yeah, because it was practically their maestro.
Oh, yes.
He was the one somehow that has inspired. For me, Onib is really the inspiration of all these young artists that are taking, that actually they're having a great career at the moment.
Yeah.
And Onib unfortunately only started it. The public never really understood. Like now, he's getting a little forgotten. That's why I thought, that this small exhibit, but with mental health, how Onib was able to capture what we feel now. Before people did not feel it. Did not know. They were saying, oh, he's crazy, mental crisis, something. But this beauty that he got, you look at LAH, at LAH is unbelievable. We don't have other painting, but that we have. Like he had one is called the Blue Rondo. As many. It's really filled the soul. He loved jazz. He loved music on it. He was really a lover of music. I think they had to change the date there. Onib was born in 1937
Yeah, yeah.
with me.
Silvana, you're so hot. I love it. I love the old pictures of you.
The old, I like the old pictures.
But you're
You
more
know, I tell you a story. Onib, the black and white of Onib came also. My husband, I hear we were with Alan and Romina, but the black and white here are the one of Can-sur-Mer. I was of the time with the NCCA. And we were looking for the artists who will represent Philippines. And unanimously, all the gallery, there was a vote and Onib won the nomination to be the one to be sent to Can-sur-Mer. That is the painting that that Pandy was telling you. Yeah, another story, the black and white, my father-in-law, was a dealer of board paper. And he used, you know, the board to make cigarette boxes.
yeah.
We used to have big paper. So we gave my husband and we gave to Onib a lot of paper. And then Ramon was selling ink to Japanese Toyo ink. And so he gave the black ink that you see in a lot of his painting to Onib, and Onib will use the cotton bud also to paint the painting. If you look at the technique of Onib, is with the cotton bud, a lot of it.
Oh, as in cotton buds at ears?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so awesome.
You know, to blend sometimes, to remove the color. Yeah.
Amazing. You're right, Pandy. He really was austere. He used cotton buds.
Well, the country was austere. The country. Remember that when you turn the page, remember of the book, we had so much problem with paper many times that the newspaper will break. The book of the children's school will break.
Wow.
Because the paper was very, remember, 1980, we had the world, I think the World Bank blocked a lot of money with the Philippines.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of hardship.
Yes.
Even fine color. Velasco, who was one of the founder of the Saturday group, used to import a lot of art material, and a lot of artists will buy from him, but he also, a lot of artists got from him and he gave it to him without even getting paid.
Yeah. Silvana, I'm going to ask Oya Ariola to turn on her video and join us.
Yes, yes.
And maybe Mrs. Olmedo is also here on Zoom with us, I think.
Yes, please.
Please turn on your, and then maybe we'll ask whoever the host is to spotlight so we can ask them. Oh yeah, I think you messaged me on Twitter that Onib is your ninong. I'm so happy to see you here because we only talk on Twitter. But yay, you're here. Anything you'd like to share with us about your ninong?
Oh, I don't know what, I was late, so I don't know what has been said, but he's incredibly funny. And like he just saw things in a different way. And my dad really loved him. He really did.
It's okay.
That's
It's all
it.
right. It's a time of grief for me too. It's really that I always, I just lost a good friend, Leo Abaya, also of College of Fine Arts this morning. And I'm one of those of the generation ayaw mag-cry in public. But these days, if you feel like crying, that's them missing you. Parang it's my theory, they're trying to get in touch and they miss you. Oh yeah, thank you for sharing that. Kasi it makes Sir Onib real to me and not just an artwork. So, how funny that he's funny with you. I think with Romina as well. Parang okay siya na ninong, ah.
Yeah, super. He'd always like the one thing I remember talaga of him was he never had clean hands ever. Ever. I've never, even during his show, I said, okay, baka malinis na yung kamay niya. Hindi.
The wife of
He had always oil. He had always oil and pastel. And then he'd always come to the house and get paper kasi yung dealer ng paper, mommy ko. So,
Oh
so
my
she
God.
would really give him really good paper because she was scared that the paper that he would use would never make it, which was true. So she would bring in Fabriano paper from Italy to give to him, to my dad, to Alan Cosio.
Oh, wow.
So yeah.
Wow, Silvana, oh my gosh, the lives you have nurtured. Olive's better half is here, I think. Where is that? I can't see.
Bettina.
Hi, Bettina. Hi, Ma'am Bettina. Wow, what an honor for you to be here.
Happy birthday, Bettina.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday.
thanks. Yeah. I'm
Happy
on the road
birthday,
now,
Tita
so
Bettina.
the internet is rather choppy, you know. So I would just like to point out that my husband is associated with, you know, sad paintings. But actually, he was a very funny man. You know, actually, he wrote limericks and poems that were very funny. For example, he wrote Magellan, which is
Yeah.
his own version of what happened when Magellan came to the Philippines. It's a very, very funny account, and we will come out with it in a book by next year, no? Together with my biography of my husband. It will be the first ever biography to be written by the wife of an artist in the Philippines. So actually, what I'd like to emphasize is Onib was a painter of very sad paintings, but actually, as a man, he was known for his sense of humor. Silvana can attest to that, no? And
Yeah.
we used to have, you know, soirees in the house of Silvana, and then he would regale all the VIPs who would be present there, the diplomats, the ambassadors, etc. And he would give his own version of Magellan, and also the funny saga of Mr. Sago and MS Gulaman. This is actually the story of Sago and Gulaman, and it's really very, very fun. You have to read it in Tagalog to be able to savor it. So actually, I think I'm very lucky that I was married to one of the most famous artists in Philippine art history, who has made significant contribution to the advancement of Philippine art, and he was able to level up the appreciation of people from paintings that were purely ornamental, you know, eye candy paintings, to paintings that really enabled them to learn about to look at paintings with the deeper meanings and the nuances of paintings, and not only their ornamental value. So I'm very happy that there have been so many art exhibits now, especially the one of Silvana, and we're very grateful to Silvana for holding this online art exhibit, because now the millennials are are, are being awakened, no, by this is the actually this is the time that they're exposed to Onib's paintings, and they are so appreciative. It's like an eye opener for them. They really appreciate it so much, and you know it's nice to listen to the comments of millennials about Onib. He's actually one of the most significant Filipino artists to be produced by the 20th century. You know, he died very young at 59. I remember he told me, naku Bettina, it's almost already the third the new it's almost the 21st century, he said. But unfortunately, he didn't even get to reach the 21st century because he died in 1996. So thank you very much.
Okay. We can, oh, bless you, Silvana. We can't, you're getting cut a bit, but we'll wait a few more minutes. Can you hear me? Okay. I never, if you told me 10 years ago that I will talk to
For holding this art exhibit. We're letting it run until July 31st. Oh.
Okay.
I think that's why we're on the road.
Okay. Grabe, Ramina. If you told me in 1991 as an intern that I will talk to Onib Olmedo's wife on my laptop while she's in the car, I will not believe you. What a magical moment that was for me. Parang, whew, thank you. Ma'am Bettina, it's such an honor that you logged in today with us, even if you're in the car and your grandson is screaming.
But today, today is her birthday. It's her birthday, so it's very coincidental.
Happy birthday! Happy
So
birthday!
This is a good gift to her.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay.
Or maybe it's Tito Onib's gift to her. And to us.
Yes, absolutely. Tito Onib, give to her.
Sige, Silvana and Romina, I'm gonna ask Oya again. Baka she wants, she has gathered a bit of the. We appreciate the welling of emotion, and maybe now you want to share something now that it's a little calmer. See, I told you 5 to 7 minutes. You can regulate. Go, Oya. Share something we don't know about your ninong.
Yang naman, I'm not prepared.
Okay.
No, I just what Tita Bettina said, no, yung I love that poem niya na yung the Mr. Sagoan kasi I was small pa then and I had it memorized at the time. I only remember like a few lines now.
Can you share a few lines?
Yeah, this is the saga of Mr. Sago na maliit at kalbo at may pagkabobo. Siya'y may pagtingin kay Miss Gelatin, aling gulaman sa wika natin. Parang ganyan.
Oh, that's so awesome! I love it. I love it. What an, Onib Olmedo must be some guy, because I feel the sheer force of of his presence through all of you. Parang feeling ko, lakas siguro mang utos nito kasi parang everything came together. I just need to let you know, Galleria Duemila, Project Steady, Romina, Yana, who's our moderator, and we only met once. And it wasn't even so, we didn't even quite know where to begin. But look at how the afternoon turned out. It's 9 minutes to the hour. We're going to close soon. So if you have an urgent thought you want to share and an urgent question, now is the time. Otherwise, I will ask Sir Pandy to maybe close a bit for his final thoughts for the afternoon at least. And then I'll ask Ms. Silvana to also share, and then we will let everybody go. And you may now start Googling Onib Olmedo and everything else. Hopefully,
we still have the virtual exhibit to go through.
Yes, and we also have tomorrow a wellness session.
Yeah.
And we have a wellness session with me tomorrow where I will really make you do exercises with your brain to stretch it a bit. So for now, 8 minutes till the hour. Romina, I'm gonna let you moderate from now on until we end with Pandy's message and Silvana's, and then the exhibit.
Okay.
Thank you for the afternoon. I end my time.
Thank you, gang, so much. That was such a pleasure. Hello.
Okay, go, Ramina. Maybe we should hear from Sir Pandy.
Okay.
I relinquish my spot on the floor now. It was a pleasure. Thank you, everybody who's on Zoom and anybody watching this on YouTube, even 10 years from now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Silvana.
Gang.
Thank you, Galleria Duemila, for um, having me to share my little story about Onib. Definitely, this guy made a lot of difference to a lot of artists, and I hope that more people will um, uh, enjoy his artwork. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Wonderful. Silvana, Miss Silvana, would you like to?
Yes, yes. Onib is very, very, very dear to him, to me. I believe he has captured my soul, and I'm really, one of my aim is that his work will be really, really, really appreciated, that there will be a very good research in his work, in his drawing, in his poetry. As well, now Bettina is coming out as a biography, but I hope also she will put together the different other people who has been close to Onib. Although some is already dead, but you know, it's very important that the biography is a comprehensive of many voices that has known him. And we must make him really be known to this country. What a great, great, great artist, and what a pioneer, and what a insider in what of the human soul. Like Francis Bacon, like what you see also Lucian Freud. So these are illuminati, and you know, it's like also Pandy Aviato is a great, great artist. Also, somebody that has to be, we have to research and not to let it go into the sunset. We must never, never let go such a pioneer people in our art being forgotten. We have to have people who are financing the research, and we have to go forward and dig deeper into their life and their artwork, because this is the fiber, is the country treasure, and we have the inheritance. We cannot forget it. Thank you,
I would
everybody.
like to
Thank you, everybody, for
thank
having me.
you.
Come to Galleria. I hope
I'd
to
like
see you
to thank
tomorrow.
everybody to come tomorrow for the next part of the talk on Onib Olmedo. And I would like to thank Gang, my personal heroine. She's been one of good friends for years, and I've seen her work so hard in believing in what she does and in working with people. And I was actually quite shocked to see that you were really doing a master's in art therapy. And I think that, you know, especially now with the situation, and also now that we're given a chance to express ourselves digitally through every part of the world, I think that these talks are a way of bringing the millennials, and also the you know, I mean, the people from Onib Olmedo's time to be able to participate in this moment where we're all connected is unbelievable, you know. Like, that's why I said, kung kaya ng mommy ko, kaya ng lahat.
I need to thank my assistant, the coordinator, Natalie Cruz. She was essential to putting together, to patch
Very
together.
much so, yeah.
From Italy to you, to me, to everybody, and make this project a great success.
This is Natalie's passion project. So,
yes,
you know, she's the one that said, why don't we do this? Why, we know I think it's very essential. And Natalie brought it up to us, and I loved the idea immediately. And so it was kind of like, how do I so I had to even talk to my mom about it, to like show her but it all coincided perfectly with even the choice of exhibit. So we just want to say thank you to Natalie and also to Yana, because this is like their little brainchild. Because Yana, I think, also works for Project Steady,
Yes.
and you can see that the millennials are behind this.
Yes, Natalie quite accidentally logged into one of our free mental health sessions, and I think that's where she got the idea. And I guess, like Onib Olmedo, we learned that nothing naman happens by chance so much. If all of
Nothing.
us are doing our decisions where we are and really doing our work where we are, if we are on the same direction, we will meet again. Can you imagine in 1991, I was writing for Silvana, and then now I'm turning 50 in August and I'm back. I know we're back. I did see you, Silvana, right before the lockdown in Alt PH in SM Aura with Bubbles, and then now we're here. So wonderful.
Yeah,
Please
gang, you know,
provide.
like in Tate Modern, they would have these art therapists just come with the kids from kindergarten, and they would ask them to really, like, express what they're feeling. And I think that's what art should go back to. I think right now we've made art such a money making market in a way, but we've lost touch really with a lot of its empathy and its discussion. And I think that's what we should start doing again, especially now by this digital world and allowing people to
Yeah.
react in certain ways. And I think it's a wonderful thing what you're doing.
I
So
think
thank you.
Oya is sharing some of the artworks. Am I right, Oya? Maybe we can spotlight.
Yes, those two portraits there.
Some
That's
of-
me and my sister by Tito Onib. But they're unfinished because he was never able to fit it. One of his last canvases, vale.
Okay, we have 1 minute left to 6 o'clock, so I'll end the session. Is that all right? I
Yeah.
want you
Yeah.
to know that without even me knowing it, artists like Onib Olmedo, whose work I've seen since I was young and even when I was studying, even if it wasn't the beautiful or the pretty, they really stuck to me. And I also think it made me braver in making decisions like actually starting my psychotherapy training in Bilibid, in the maximum security prison, in what they say to be the worst of us in society, the convicts. But I think that's also an Onib Olmedo legacy on me. Now, there are people who are not the valedictorians, are not the summa cum laudes, but they are worth portraits. They are worth observing. They are worth painting because that's humanity. And hopefully this afternoon was something that you was something that tied a few pieces of your questions together regarding mental wellness. May I remind you, mental health does not mean you're happy all the time. I think mental health is you feel everything and you can dial up and dial down and go back to neutral as best you can. Says the man who paints such dark and sad paintings but is actually very funny in real life. What a wonderful lesson from Onib Olmedo. Thank you, Galleria Duemila, always for engaging the public, not just for art, but also for mental wellness. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. I hope I see some of you tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone. Have a nice
Thank you,
day. Thanks,
Pandy.
gang.
Thank you, Pandy.
Thank you, Pandy.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Bing, for
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Pandy.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Yana and Natalie. That was a great session. I thought it was
Yeah,
wonderful.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mina. Nice to meet you, Miss Savannah.
Mina, we did
Thank
it.
you, Yana. I know.
Thank
I'm
you.
so
Bye.
happy.
Bye,
Amazing.
Sandra.
Bye. Thank you. Hi,
Bye.
Yana.
Bye-bye.
Hi, guys.
Thank you, Sandra.
Hi, Jan.
Hi.
Hi, Sandra.
I met Onib in the exhibit of your mom, Yana.
Oh, really?
Yes, this is the first time I met him. 1993.
And my mom's like, no way.
Your mom's art exhibit in Ayala Museum.
Oh,
Wow, that's so
Fun
awesome.
fact.
Sandra, I know and love and appreciate your work.
Ay, thank you.
Yay!
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
you. Just my mom's
we lost so
barkada.
many fine arts people, grabe, in the past month. We lost so
Yeah.
many people.
I know, Leo Abaya.
I know.
He was my teacher in Ayala for oil.
Hey,
Yeah,
before
sad.
we go, Nick, thank you for being here, Tilly and Vika. And Bing Amit, can you say hi? Bing Amit is our two-time world champion in billiards, and she's here with us.
Wow.
Amazing. Yay.
Ang dami kong natutunan. Thank you for, I didn't expect na ang dami kong matututunan. And if I may just share a bit lang, because I really enjoyed this afternoon. Sorry about my hair, by the way.
No, we like
Because
your hair. I like
really,
your hair.
I'm really new to this. I'm really new to appreciating art. And then I would attend Gang's sessions, and then she would say to know the artist. And it's my first time to somehow know the artist through his family, his mga inaanak. So it's really nice to see. Sobrang ano, I really want to know more about him. I was actually googling him kanina na while he was being talked about, and his life, his pictures was being presented. So thank you for this afternoon. I'm really happy na I attended this afternoon. Again, thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
so
Romina.
much.
We have a convert. Yes, that's my only goal.
Yeah, that's what we're planning naman here talaga, is to bring people closer to art, and also so that they're not afraid to express themselves. So
Oh.
thank you, and keep winning those goals.
World
Thank you.
champion yan.
I'll do my best.
Two-time world champion. So thank you and enjoy the rest of the evening. Sobrang funny. I can't believe we pulled it off, Natalie, Romina, and
Hey,
Yana.
Natalie!
Haphazardly planned. And I was like, what? Dalawang session? What? When? On Friday na? Like, but we just talked. Imagine ko mga July pa to o kaya August. When I saw the schedule, I'm like, oh, so Friday pa. But, I think we pulled it off. Thank you.
Thank you, Romina.
Bye,
Thank you,
Sandra.
Nat.
I hope I see you one of these days. Come back tomorrow to the Zoom wellness session. Come back tomorrow. We'll have fun.
Thanks, Tita Sandra.
Of course, next Monday. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Yana, thank you. I'm sorry I got
Romina, thank you so
taranta with the spotlights kanina, but thank you.
No. It was just so weird. Tita Sandra's my mom's college barkada, and she's here pala. So random.
Okay. Bye, Natalie, and you can rest. And tomorrow we'll do it smoother and smoothly, and also Romina can rest. See you. I'm gonna leave
This
now.
came
Bye,
out really
Bing.
well.
Hey,
Bye.
sharing. Appreciate it. I appreciate your presence. Super. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, gang.
Okay.
Wait, I'll stop recording. Hang on. Wait.
Oh, I didn't expect
Wait.
that. Oh,